This video is all about outsmarting the rest of your league, getting ahead of the curve, stashing these high upside players on your bench before they break out. It doesn't matter if your team stinks. It doesn't matter if you're undefeated. You always have a chance in fantasy football. It's never over. Sometimes it just takes one player on your roster to completely change your season. And this list features a running back who I think is going to have a huge second half of the year, along with a rookie receiver that no one's really talking about who could be the next big breakout. If you watch one video this week, it has to be this one. I'm also going to rank these players at the end of the video from 1 to 10 in terms of priority. Let's start with the first guy on this list, and it's Jalen Noel, receiver for the Houston Texans. I really like this kid. I think he's going to be a superstar in this league, and he's made the most of his limited opportunities over the last 2 weeks for the Texans. Week 7, 4 receptions, 77 yards on 7 targets, 11.7 fantasy points. In week 8, 5 receptions, 63 yards on 6 targets, 11.3 fantasy points. What I don't understand is his usage has not been great. He saw over 45% of the snaps in both games, which is kind of concerning considering Nico Collins didn't play last week and Christian Kirk has missed the last several weeks. Both guys probably going to return in week 9, which means some would assume Noel is just going to move back to the bench. I think that would be a massive mistake if the Texans do that because Kirk, what has Christian Kirk done so far this year? He's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's an older player. He's played in a chunk of games already this season. I believe it's 4, and he's had 10 receptions for 109 yards and 0 touchdowns. Jalen is clearly the better player at this point, more explosive player, and should be the Texans' starting slot receiver, not Christian Kirk. I'm sorry. We've seen the rapport between Noel and Stroud, and it looks really good, especially on the deep ball as of late. Houston also needs playmakers on offense outside of Nico Collins. They don't really have that. Noel can fill that role, and he's actually accounted for 30% of the team's receiving first downs this year. He's a playmaker. He ranks 4th in targets per route run among all rookie receivers this season, along with 3rd in yards per route run. And with CJ Stroud and this Houston Texans offense as a whole has looked better as of late. I would be stashing a talented rookie on your bench now because talent always wins out eventually. I think Noel could be lethal the second half of the year just because of the offense that he's in, the quarterback that he has, the talent that he has, and I think he can beat out Christian Kirk for that starting slot position. If you turn on the tape, if you watch his highlights, this is a really, really talented player. If he starts to see more usage, more run, more targets, he could absolutely explode the second half of the season. These are the guys you want to get on your bench now. All right, moving on to our next guy, Bayshul Tootin. And if there were ever a week to add the rookie running back, it's this one because the Jaguars are coming off a bye week. We know what happens with rookies coming off a bye. They get that post-bye rookie bump where they tend to see more usage, more volume. They're more integrated into the playbook. That's what's going to happen for Tootin. If you remember, the first half of the year, he's been hurt. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury, and he hasn't been practicing that much, or he's been limited with the red contact jersey on. And we know he's not dealing with that anymore. So there's no way that Jacksonville does not get this man on the field. He's a better running back than Travis Etienne, I'm telling you. I have never been more confident in anything than saying that, especially with how poor, average at best Travis Etienne has been as of late. Every advanced metric, he's been mediocre. He hasn't been that good. Travis Etienne always starts off the year on fire, and then he cools off. And he should be playing a lot better behind one of the best run-blocking offensive lines in football, and he's not. Yeah, he has explosive plays here and there. He scores touchdowns, but if you look at the advanced metrics, Tootin has been better in almost every single category, and we know Liam Cohen handpicked Tootin in this year's draft, 4th-round pick. He wants him to work. He's going to make sure that he pans out, and I think that Bayshul is the best for this offense. It's the best for them winning football games. It costs you nothing just to add him on your bench and see what happens. He's so wildly available in most leagues. It's crazy. And this is a guy in college, his final year at Virginia Tech, rushed for over 1,000 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, 17 total touchdowns on only 183 touches. That's absolutely wild. While ranking 8th in elusive rating, 10th in yards after contact per attempt, 10th in breakaway percentage, and sports the 3rd highest career missed tackles forced per attempt in his class, behind only Ashton Genty and Cam Scadaboo. This is a bigger running back, not in terms of height, but weight, at 209 pounds, that runs a 4.3 40. He's elusive, fast, shifty. He's a stud. He's going to be a star. Bet on talent. That's what these stash videos are all about. If Travis Etienne continues to be the starter, then that's what happens. But there's a chance that Tootin takes over, kind of like Bucky Irving did last year under Cohen, or he has a bigger role. And Tootin is a guy who can score from anywhere on the football field. If he gets more volume on this offense, I promise you, he's going to win a lot of fantasy football leagues, and he's going to break out. All right, moving on to our next guy, Tez Johnson, the young, explosive receiver, rookie for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's going to be the number 2 target on this Bucs offense for the foreseeable future, behind Emeka Egbuka with Mike Evans' broken collarbone. Not going to be back until the very end of the year. Chris Godwin, re-injured his ankle, leg. Like, he's having issues. He's an older player. Who knows if Godwin ever returns this year? Which means Tampa Bay is going to lean on Johnson, who's already showed flashes in his limited opportunities as of late. He's proving to be a really good receiver already in this league. And in week 8, 5 receptions, 43 yards, 6 targets, 9.3 fantasy points, 96% route participation. That's what you need to focus on here. He is going to be on the field all the time for Tampa Bay. Better days are ahead for Johnson for this entire Tampa Bay passing game. Baker Mayfield, the first half of the year, has looked like one of the better quarterbacks in all of football this year. And Tez has scored double-digit fantasy points in 3 out of the last 4 games, along with 2 really impressive touchdowns over that span. This is another situation. Here we go, talking about it again. Betting on talented players, on good offenses, with a superstar quarterback. Like, if Tez gets more run, more targets, we know he's getting more run. He's going to be on the football field all the time. And Emeka Egbuka is going to take all the defensive attention away. Tez is just going to be in great mismatch situations. I think he's going to be a touchdown machine. And with the Bucs being on bye, someone might have dropped him in your league. He's not heavily rostered anyway, so there's a good shot he's available. I would be grabbing Tez, stashing him away, and just waiting for bigger, better days, which are coming. All right, moving on to our next guy, Brashard Smith, the rookie running back for the Chiefs, who we've been talking about on this channel forever, and it hasn't really worked out. It's been disappointing. It's been frustrating. We've heard everything from the coaching staff, from Patrick Mahomes, saying how they're going to get him more involved every single week. He's going to be out there. And then you watch the games, and it's like, where's Brashard Smith? Like, they don't use him. They've been lying to us, is what it really feels like. But if there were a week ever to stash Smith, it's this week, because we know Isaiah Pacheco injured his MCL, going to be out 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even longer. All they have really is Kareem Hunt in the backfield, who continues to be cooked, average at best running back. He's not good anymore. He doesn't have the juice. He doesn't have that explosiveness, but he scores those touchdowns, so he looks a lot better than he is. Now, if I'm looking to pick up Hunt or Smith, I'm absolutely picking up Hunt. Kareem has much more value right now in this backfield. Smith is the speculative ad where if he starts to get more run in this offense, he could take over. But it's clear Smith is a more explosive player at this point. Obviously, if Kansas City trades for a running back, if they get Breece Hall or Alvin Kamara, then both guys are cooked. But there's a good chance that doesn't happen. Kansas City needs to open up the playbook for Smith. Andy Reid needs to take Smith and just put him in the Jerick McKinnon role. Like, use this guy through the air. He's a former receiver in college. That's what he's good at, catching the football. He's not great on the ground, or at least he hasn't been in the NFL. Like, he was fine his final year in college, which we'll talk about in a second, but 3 carries for 8 yards in week 8. Like, you don't love to see that. And like I mentioned, Smith did play wide receiver his first 3 years at college and then switched to running back his final year at SMU. And while he did have a pretty good year at the running back position, over 1,600 total yards, 18 touchdowns, it's clear right now in the NFL that he belongs as a receiving back. Get him in open space. Check down the ball to him. Now, I will say the only issue here for Smith is that with Rashee Rice back, who kind of works in the intermediate middle range of the field, it's kind of taking away from Mahomes checking it off to the running back because he would rather just throw it to Rice. So I'm not saying Smith is going to be this breakout running back, but he has talent. He has upside. He's on one of the best offenses in football. It doesn't hurt to pick him up, especially considering Pacheco is out for the next couple of weeks. So why not keep him on your bench and wait and see. All right, moving on to our next guy, Chimray DK, the rookie receiver for the Titans. It's looking like DK is going to be a superstar in this league. He's breaking out the second half of the year. You can book it. You can write it down. Like, he's going to be a stud in fantasy football, and no one sees it coming. No one's really talking about him. Why? Because he's on the Titans, and it's not a great offense, but I have faith in Cam Ward, and I don't think any of the other receivers on this offense are that good. Calvin Ridley is hurt. He stinks at this point. Alec Ayumanner, he's a fine player. But if you want to talk about a guy who can take the lid off an opposing defense and who can be a league winner for your fantasy football team at the receiver position this year, it's DK. Like, he's coming off a really strong performance in week 8, 7 receptions, 93 yards, 16.4 fantasy points, 90% route participation, 21% target share. And the rookie has scored 16 fantasy points in 2 straight games. Even if Calvin Ridley does come back, DK is going to have a role from the slot. And it's pretty apparent that DK has the best connection that we've seen all year with Cam Ward, by far. And I think it's only going to continue to get better. And with this Titans defense being pretty poor, Tennessee's going to be in situations where they have to throw the football a ton in order to have a chance at winning football games, which means they're going to pass at a high rate, which means their wide receivers are going to see a ton of work on a weekly basis. I think DK is a nice player to add and to stash away. And DK is honestly giving me Amon-Ra St. Brown rookie year vibes. We know St. Brown, the first half of the year was not great. From weeks 1 to 12, he was the wide receiver 75 in fantasy. But from weeks 13 to 18, Amon-Ra was the wide receiver 2 in fantasy. I think if anyone's going to do something like that this year, it's going to be DK because of the talent, because this offense is going to continue to have to pass at a very high rate, and because of Cam Ward, who is a really good quarterback. He started off kind of rocky, but you can see why he was the first overall pick. If he can continue to form, to grow his connection with DK, and if DK can continue to be on the football field all the time, then he could be a league winner. He could be a guy that blows up that no one is talking about really. No one's going to see this coming. So get this guy on your bench now, stash him away. You could probably even start him in your flex this week if you really had to. But I think he's going to be a guy that people are going to be talking about at the end of the year. Like, why did we not see this coming sooner? So yeah, get him on your bench. Feel really good about it. All right, moving on to our next guy, Isaiah Davis, another guy that we talk about a ton on this channel. He's coming off a huge week 8 performance, 7 carries, 65 yards, 5 receptions, 44 yards, 17.9 fantasy points. This is what I'm talking about. If Breece Hall gets traded, this is what you'd be seeing from Davis on a weekly basis. And the reason why we're talking about Davis is because we still think Breece Hall is going to get traded. And we know Breece is coming off a massive game in week 8 where he had 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground. He threw a touchdown to rookie tight end Mason Taylor. That was fun to watch, but that's the sole reason why Davis is on this list, because if Hall gets traded, he's going to be a workhorse for the Jets, because I don't think Braylon Allen is ever going to come back this year. Why would he rush back from a serious injury to join a Jets team that has 1 win? Like, they would run Davis into the ground, and I think I've talked about this. I think he's a really talented player. He's a versatile player. He's a bigger running back. He's young. Like, if he has this backfield to himself, he will absolutely eat. And I know reports have just come out that the Jets are thinking about keeping Breece. Like, maybe they want to sign him now. I don't know if I buy that. Maybe they're kind of playing the game, right? Acting like they want him, so teams will have to pay up for him. Like, why would they not sell Breece now? Sell him high, right? Like, in fantasy, sell him high. He just had a huge game. See what you can get for him now, because I don't think Breece Hall wants to sign an extension with the Jets. I think he's done with this organization. And after this year, he's going to be a free agent. He's going to be able to go wherever he wants. He's not re-signing with New York. So they might as well get something for him before they can't anymore. And then he just leaves at the end of the year. The NFL trade deadline is November 4th. They're running out of time, and they're on bye this week. So another player, get him on your team now, because we could wake up tomorrow morning and Breece Hall is an Arizona Cardinal or a Kansas City Chief or a Chicago Bear. It could happen. Maybe it doesn't happen, but it doesn't hurt to stash Davis on your bench, because I think he would be very fantasy relevant if Breece Hall did get traded. All right, moving on to our next guy, Christian Watson, who made his debut on Sunday Night Football. First game back since tearing his ACL last year, and he looked really good. 4 receptions, 85 yards on 4 targets, 12.5 fantasy points, 65% route participation, 3.86 yards per route run, 17.4% first read share. He is the deep threat, right? He's going to stretch the field for the Packers, similar to what Jameson Williams does for the Lions. Runs deep, and then everyone gets open in the middle of the field. We saw Tucker Kraft do that on Sunday Night Football, where he absolutely ate. Similar with Jameson Williams, helps Amon-Ra St. Brown always be open in the middle of the field. The reason why I'm saying this is because Christian Watson is going to be on the field a ton for the Packers. Yes, they have a crowded wide receiver room, but no one can do what Watson can do in terms of receivers on this offense, which means he's going to be on the football field a ton, which means Jordan Love in this Packers offense that's sizzling hot right now is going to have plays for Christian Watson. He's going to be involved in this offense, and Jordan Love has the talent to get him the football. Like, it's the perfect situation. Watson is, speaking of talent, is an uber talented player, 6'5", runs a 4.3 40. He's the guy who scored 8 touchdowns in 4 games his rookie year. These are the guys that we've been talking about in this entire video. Bet on talent, on good offenses for the most part. Not everyone we've talked about is on a good offense like Tennessee, but you bet on guys that are in good situations, that have flashed before, that could absolutely do that again. I think Watson, I don't care that they have a ton of receivers. Watson is going to have a massive role on this offense. It would not shock me if he leads all these receivers in fantasy points per game the rest of the year. So I'd be adding him onto your roster because of the upside that he has. All right, so here's how I would rank these guys from top priority to least. At number 1 for me would be Bayshul Tootin. At number 2, Chimray DK. At number 3, Jalen Knoll. Then Isaiah Davis, Tez Johnson, Brashard Smith, and Christian Watson. That's how I think you can look at this list in terms of the guys I like the most to the least. Let's talk about some other strong stashes. Tank Bigsby for the Eagles in case Saquon Barkley can't play coming out of the bye. Dylan Sampson, same situation. Browns have a bye right now, but if Judkins returning from bye is not healthy enough to play, then Sampson will have a huge role. Samaje Perine for the Bengals because he continues to play a lot on offense right now. Blake Corum, if Kyron were to ever go down, Corum would be a top 15 fantasy running back the rest of the way. Kyle Monungai for the Bears, his role has only continued to increase. It's looking like a split backfield in Chicago, so I would absolutely want the rookie there. Devin Neal for the Saints in case Kamara gets traded or they just want to see what they have in the rookie. Brian Robinson Jr., Christian McCaffrey playing insane football right now, but we know his history with injuries. If he were to go down, Robinson would have a massive workload on a good 49ers offense. Jaden Higgins, also for the Texans at wide receiver. Colston Loveland, tight end, rookie for the Bears. And then Isaiah Likely for the Ravens. Those are some other guys you should be considering stashing at the bottom of your bench now. That's all I have for you guys today. I really appreciate each and every one of you. You guys are literally the best. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.